What if the seemingly perfect life you see on the outside hides the most shocking, twisted secrets behind closed doors? Imagine living next to a family that seems ordinary until a horrific crime unravels everything. The Hallowell family's story isn't just another murder case. It's a chilling reminder of how deeply suppressed emotions and dark histories can come to light in the most unimaginable ways. This is a story that will leave you questioning everything about human nature, mental health, and the lengths people will go to hide the truth. Trust me, you won't believe the shocking revelations. Stay with us till the end, and make sure you don't miss out on the unsettling details that follow. If you think you know the full story, think again. This is a case that will haunt you. Scientists agree that aggressive behavior in teens isn't inherent. It's shaped by the environment, upbringing, and relationships. This statement is especially true for the Hallowell family, whose quiet, seemingly ordinary existence turned out to be far from typical. The case of Denise Hallowell and her two adopted sons is both a tragedy and a haunting exploration into the consequences of neglect, trauma, and family dynamics. A picture-perfect family. At first glance, the Hallowell family appeared to be just another average household. Living in a small town in Marin County, California, their life seemed serene. Denise and her two sons, Carlos and Angel, resided in a lakeside house in a tight-knit community where crime was virtually non-existent and neighbors kept to themselves. But as investigators would soon discover, this peaceful facade was masking a deeper, darker truth: adoption and family struggles. Denise, after facing years of infertility, decided to adopt a child in 1965. She and her husband, Benjamin, welcomed a baby girl, Denise, into their home. The couple, though not wealthy, provided a loving and nurturing environment for their adopted daughter. However, as the years went by, relationships within the family began to unravel. Denise married twice, first to Richard, then to Benjamin, but both marriages ended in divorce. The boys' troubling behavior. Denise's second marriage to Benjamin proved to be equally challenging. After failing to conceive, the couple adopted two boys, Carlos and Angel. Despite her love and dedication, Denise struggled with raising the boys. Angel, in particular, exhibited troubling behavior from a young age. By the time he was 9 or 10, Angel was skipping school, running away, and displaying intense aggression. Carlos, on the other hand, was more withdrawn. While he didn't exhibit overt aggression, he kept to himself and struggled to make connections. The brothers were hostile toward each other, and their fights escalated. Despite the obvious issues, Denise did not seek professional help, which only worsened the situation over time. Child Welfare's intervention. In September 2016, Child Welfare Services paid a visit to the Hallowell home after numerous complaints from teachers about Angel's behavior and his repeated disappearances. What they found shocked them. Angel was kept in a room that resembled solitary confinement, with a lock on the inside and a metal bolt on the outside. The conditions were appalling, and Angel described being locked in this room for days, with only a small hatch to receive food and water. Denise explained that locking Angel in his room was a safety precaution to prevent him from running away again, and to stop the brothers from fighting. Authorities, however, were disturbed by her explanation. After hearing Angel's testimony, Denise was arrested, and the boys were placed in protective care. Carlos' loyalty to his mother. Though Angel's testimony painted Denise in a negative light, Carlos defended his adoptive mother. He claimed that Angel posed a serious danger to everyone around him, including himself, and that Denise had no choice but to lock him away for everyone's safety. His defense was strong enough that the court seemed to lean in favor of Denise, and she was reinstated as Carlos' legal guardian. A shocking murder. On July 13, 2019, tragedy struck. Denise was found brutally murdered in her bedroom, with an axe lodged in the back of her head. Carlos, the only witness, immediately called emergency services, claiming he had discovered his mother's body after waking up from a nap. He named Angel as the prime suspect, believing his younger brother harbored enough anger to commit such an act. Though uncovering the truth, when authorities investigated the crime scene, they found no signs of forced entry, suggesting the attacker was familiar with the house. The weapon used, a backyard axe, was a clear indication that the attack was personal. Carlos, initially adamant that Angel was responsible, began to exhibit suspicious behavior. His story was inconsistent, and investigators found troubling details, including his phone activity, which contradicted his version of events, animal cruelty, and unsettling incidents. As investigators delved deeper into the case, they uncovered disturbing reports from the neighbors. Pets had gone missing, and some had been found mutilated in remote areas around the lake. At first, these incidents seemed like random animal attacks, but the brutality of the killings suggested otherwise. Carlos' troubled past, including previous instances of aggression and behavioral problems, made him a prime suspect in these animal cruelty cases. A pattern of destructive behavior. Carlos had a history of erratic behavior, which included substance abuse, violent outbursts, and self-destructive tendencies. At 14, he began experimenting with alcohol and drugs, and his relationship with Denise deteriorated. Eventually, Denise sought professional help, and Carlos was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. However, he refused to take medication and rejected any attempts to intervene in his behavior. A troubling window into Carlos' mind. During the period when Carlos lived with his relative Stephanie, Denise's interactions with her son were recorded. These tapes revealed a toxic and emotionally abusive relationship. Denise openly expressed regret over adopting Carlos, often blaming him for her life's difficulties and making cruel remarks. The verbal abuse was shocking, with Denise belittling Carlos and treating him as a burden. A desperate act of hatred. Just a month before the murder, Carlos expressed a desire to return to live with Denise, hoping to repair their fractured relationship. However, things had only gotten worse. Another intense argument escalated into a physical altercation, and Carlos was warned by a neighbor that the police would be called if it happened again. Despite the growing tension, Carlos remained in the home, and a week before the murder, surveillance cameras mysteriously disappeared, along with Denise's phone. Carlos confesses. As evidence mounted against Carlos, he began to backtrack on his earlier statements. The surveillance footage showed his phone had been active just minutes before Denise's murder, contradicting his claim that he had been asleep at the time. Neighbors reported seeing him outside near the shed around the time of the crime. Eventually, Carlos admitted to chopping firewood and then discovering his mother's body after hearing the dogs barking. Carlos takes responsibility. With mounting evidence and no one else to blame, Carlos eventually accepted a plea deal, admitting responsibility for Denise's murder. While his attorney attempted to frame the act as a momentary breakdown, the premeditated nature of the crime suggested otherwise. In March 2021, Carlos was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, though he will be eligible for a sentence review in 2041. The tragic fall of a family. The Hallowell family's story is a haunting reminder of how deep-rooted trauma, neglect, and emotional abuse can manifest in violent acts. While Carlos' actions were ultimately his own, the signs of trouble had been apparent for years. The case leaves us questioning how we address mental health, family dynamics, and the consequences of ignoring warning signs. As the Hallowell family's dark secrets unfold, we are left to reflect on the true nature of human aggression and the devastating effects of a toxic environment. If this shocking tale left you speechless, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment, and share it with those who need to know the truth. But don't go anywhere. Our next video is one you won't want to miss. We'll dive into the mysterious and tragic case of George Smith IV, a honeymoon that turned into a nightmare. Why did he disappear? And what really happened on that fateful night? The story will send chills down your spine. Be sure to subscribe so you're ready for the next chapter. You're not going to want to miss what we uncover next. This is a case that'll keep you up at night. See you soon.